we can get all eyes on the stage, I'd like to invite Shradha Sharma, the one and only. And Shradha will tell you more about her session so that I don't take more time.
I'll take this.
You'll take this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Where's Bharti? She's there somewhere. Call her. Anyway, so we were just discussing that, the session about this whole startup girls and talking about women and gender equality and disparity and everything. So before I talk and before we talk about those things, one thing I want to make it very clear to all of you and each one of you in this room, that I'm absolutely the worst person to take any advice. I hate it. I just hate people who give advice. And especially when they come on stage and give advice, I hate them even more. Though I might smile at them and listen and I'll nod when they are saying, but I just don't believe what they are saying. And I'll tell you why. Because it's so easy to give advice, right? And all of us and each one of us in this room, we are so very unique and so very different, right? But here I will make an exception and tell that there is a very smart lady in this room and her name is Vani Kola. And I'm not, so I'll tell you what, board meeting, right? So with Vani Kola, if you are in the board meeting and if you do happen, and I hope all of you get in a board, get investment from her and get in the board meeting with her, she's very smart, right? So everyone said, oh, Vani is in your board. It's going to be very tough, loud, strong character. I said, okay. So Vani will never, so I was like, okay, she's going to tell me how to run my business. She'll tell me what to do. And I can't listen. I just can't take it like, okay, itne saad 8 saal ke mehnat ke baad, now she'll tell me do this, do that, do this. So I went into the board meeting with lot of trepidation and fear and all that, ki ghar mein sune nahi, ab investor ka sunna padega, kind of stuff. But Vani is so smart, and that's why she's Vani Kola. And now Bharti, I'm just saying I'm not sucking up because I'll tell you how she's so smart. Vani, in her board meeting, she will tell you, Shraddha, what do you think? She'll never say do this. She said, what do you think should be done? Right? And after that she'll say, it's your business, it's your company, it's your decision. Right? So she will never take the decision for you, but she'll say, this one is doing this has to be done. But what do you think should be done? So I learned a very good trick from her. Right? She doesn't give you advice, but she'll navigate you. Right? She'll navigate you and tell you it's your company, you decide, it's your decision, and I'm there behind you. Right? Yeah, so she's mastered that, right? And that to me is very interesting. But coming back to advice, I don't believe in advice, and today we'll not talk about advice because all of you must have this viral Chanda Kocher's letter to her daughter, right? It had become very viral, and one thing I picked up, she said that, I tell my daughter that we were 3 when we were growing up, when she was growing up, and our parents never discriminated. And there was no gender discrimination or no discrimination. We were all equal. And I thought it was her reality, and that's why Chanda Kocher may be so confident. And that's her story. But it was so different from my story. When I grew up, I only remember every day thinking, oh my God, I'm discriminated. You didn't even know the word, but you know every day that as a child, I'm a liability, right? You never know all these equality and all those things, but every day you had to fight like, hey, I'm also very good, and I'm also special, and I'll also smile, and my parents should love me, and everyone should love me, right? And like me and respect me, and that was my story. But I have been in panel with some of you, when we go and sit in these kind of panels, and that's why I don't believe in advice, because, as women we say, there is no, it's all in our mind. There is no gender discrimination. There is no gender discrimination. Like, we can go and achieve everything. It's all in the mind. I think that's why I will respect each one's mind today, because all our reality, all our stories, all our experiences are very, very different. And how we interpret that is going to be very different. And that's why today we decided, rather than telling you कि क्या करना है, क्या नहीं, what is right and what we have learnt. We will talk about our own stories. And what we promise to you is that we'll talk very honestly, without bullshitting, without giving gyan, because we are one of you and we live our own stories every day. So we're going to do a no-hold-barred conversation. And when Vani gave me this opportunity, I was thinking, अरे शायद मैं portfolio company में हूँ, शायद इसलिए दिया. फिर मैंने सोचा नहीं, इसलिए भी नहीं दिया होगा क्योंकि सोचा होगा इतना स्टोरी सुनाती है तो maybe let's call her. So I'm thankful to be here. And I had the opportunity to select my co-panelists, people whom, and I thought, who are the people who can talk honestly? And luckily, I found two amazing people whom I have the privilege of knowing. One is someone whom I find extremely stylish, but more importantly, a woman with whom I can have very candid conversation. Someone who sold her venture. She has 2 kids who are in US doing very well and all that. So she's arrived much more in life than I could aspire, and she has money. So all of you should talk to her angel investment she does, little bit. And more importantly, to me, it is important, like 1.5 months back, suddenly something happened to me in my personal life, and I was crying. I was literally crying, and I didn't know, because people expect that I should be always happy and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't know whom to talk to. And I just called her, and I thought, maybe because we are across the lake, so I called her, maybe she could jump and come to me. But I was just crying. And I felt I could have that honest conversation, which I thought I couldn't with many people, and she listened to me, and she solved my problem just by listening and being so loving. So I would invite Meeta to please come on stage. The other person, I think all of you should know, but I truly respect and admire, because she's a woman in tech. Like something which I'm slightly scared of, what that means. But she's genuinely a woman in tech who's worked in US, who's done very well for herself, came back. She's also an extraordinary mother, an amazing wife, but most importantly, a very self-made entrepreneur. And I see her struggling, fighting, and remarkably every day building a great business. Most of you would know. And someone whom I'm very jealous of also, honestly. And you'll know why. Because she's the founder of Archana's Kitchen. And all the great food. She's a YouTube celebrity. And she's made it all on her own. So Archana, please join me on stage. And today the conversation which we wanted to pick was things which we don't, all of us have challenged, I hope. And I hope we don't also. But anyways, we have this, which we thought we faced in our life, and we do face. We really have issue with money. Talking about money, people, guilt, and validation. And I thought, let's talk about our own experience, so that today when you go back from this event and you are sleeping at night, maybe you'll do some affirmations, and maybe everyday things will change. And that's why we don't have a book जो कहें कि जो कहेंगे सच कहेंगे, but we are hoping that both of you will do that, right? So with that, I request Meeta,
okay,
you should tell us about money.
All right. Having been so commanded, let me talk about money. So I think, I don't know how familiar this will be to all of you, but growing up, I was taught that talking about money is in bad taste. You don't demand money. If you ask for money, you're a greedy person. And that stayed with me subliminally somewhere through my education, through work. And I want to tell you a story, as I promised Shraddha I would do, and not talk generally about money. So several years ago, I had, my very first few brushes with investing. I had spoken to a company, I knew the people quite well, and we'd come to what I thought was a very satisfactory deal, where there was an equity swap for services. And I was very pleased with myself. I thought, this is great. I'm doing this. I've just started to do this, and this is fantastic. I've got this fairly sizable equity. And we were to ink the deal at 4 o'clock that evening. And I was having lunch with a friend who's an investor in the Valley. And I told him, I said, I'm going to buy you lunch because I've just done this fabulous deal and I'm very proud of myself. And he said, hey, congratulations. So, what's the company's valuation? I said, I didn't really ask, but I think it's whatever, XYZ. So he said, okay, so how did they arrive at that valuation? I mean, who gave it to them? I said, actually I didn't ask, but maybe this is how they did it. And he said, okay, so, what's their cap table? Who are the other investors? And I said, actually, I don't know. So he said, and, he asked me a couple of other questions, all rudimentary investing questions. And I had just never asked those questions. And he said, I think I'll pay for the lunch because I don't think you're making any money out of this company. It's seriously. And I went back very deflated, thinking that why did I not ask these questions? I'm not, I don't think of myself as stupid. It was just because I thought I can't talk about money. I can't say, okay, you know what, to people I know well, what's your cap table? How did you arrive at this valuation? Is this valuation fair? What are my exit options? I just couldn't have those hard conversations. And I think that one afternoon taught me that if you want to do this as a business and not in a philanthropic way, you need to ask the questions, the hard money questions.
I've been, I worked as a software engineer in big corporates in India as well as while I was in the US. I worked in a startup, and I earned six-figure salaries. I saw the dollars coming into my bank account, and I lost my job in a startup crash in 2001, and that's when I was devastated. And I said, okay, let me go into Harvard Business School. I mean, I moved to Boston. I got married. I moved to Boston. And I said, okay, not business school, Harvard Extension School. And I started studying while I was in my phase where I was trying to find a job because there was a dot-com burst. Nobody was hiring. I was in an H-1B. And, all that factors had truly affected me, saying that I always wanted to be someone who was independent, financially independent. Always meant money was important because financial independence to me is extremely important. And I'm a person who never shied away from saying that money is important. And so having said that, I had kids. I still didn't get a job. I was doing my extension school in IT, information technology in Harvard Extension School. Towards the end of the semester, I said, I'm quitting computer science. I'm never going to go back into being an engineer again. And I had my children. And then all of a sudden, Archana's Kitchen started because friends and family told me, you are so good. Why don't you write a book? You love cooking. Maybe you can turn your passion into a business. I said, that seems like a good idea. Why don't I actually build my own website? And I started off. So coming to the point where money comes in. Money is important, and it was very important. And from the beginning, when I knew that people told me to write a book and take my passion forward, and I took that sort of hint where people told me that, and I built the website on my own. I started writing recipes. From the beginning, I made sure that I monetized. We had moved back to India from the US in 2007 when I started, and when I was building I wasn't seeing, I was building it. I know I had to create this platform, but I knew I had to integrate some sort of a monetary mechanism into my website. I put in AdSense, Google AdSense, and lots of other things. But I wasn't making any money. I was making like $5 a month, right? But I kept at it. I kept doing it. I had very small children, 4 months and 18 months, when I started off Archana's Kitchen, because I knew that I just didn't want to be in that space. I just kept doing what I kept doing, and I grew Archana's Kitchen to what it is right now. It's one of the leading recipe and food websites, and over a period of time, a lot of validations came in, and sort of I built it into a good business working model. Coming to the part of money, what I felt is, in between, my husband told me, do you want to go? It was 2 years back when he told me that, do you want to go and, maybe it's like everybody's raising money now, you should go and, sort of raise money and get your funding. I said, no, you know what, I'm still not confident that I can actually scale the business. I need to sort of make sure that I have my processes right. I hire the right people and hire the, build it up step by step. I need to feel the confidence that I'm actually doing it well. And, well, that's my money story, and I'm so happy that I've actually run this whole thing bootstrapped, and I'm so happy that I'm doing it so well. And, yeah.
My thing to all of you is money story, which we were discussing today while I was coming with Meeta. Yesterday one guy wrote to me, and I've been wooing him forever. He's like a digital consultant, like a big team, and I've been getting the 100 million traffic from him. And all that, so wait. I love he spoke so amazingly about money, right? So we were having this conversation, and I knew he's going to ask me a lot of money, and I wanted to give him as less money, right? So the whole conversation there, I said, what I was telling Meeta, he wrote so amazingly. This is what I'm going to do. This is my retainer, and if I do this performance, then this is exactly how much bonus are you going to pay me every month. And to me, that is personal education. Clear cut.
Yeah.
But itna paisa hai, itna retainer, this is, and he is such an accomplished. I don't want to name him because everyone will take him away. So I don't want to name him. But that to me was a great learning that exactly you need to talk like that, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we can't, but somewhere some examples come. But very quickly, I want to go through the topic, and let's keep it very short because I can see the time going. Is people and guilt and validation. Quickly, let's talk about it.
Okay, so I'm going to just make one point about people, and then we can move to, I think that when you're a very small company, as mine was, you work very closely with your colleagues. They are your family. You work with them day and night. They become your friends. I think that all of us need to realize, and women, for some reason, are worse at it than men, that you need to somewhere separate your personal and professional life. Because as your business scales, and I hope it will, and I had the same experience as my business scaled, the people who were right for a very small business are not right sometimes when the business is bigger. And you have to make hard decisions for the company. You've taken outside money. You can't, it's not, you have to let people go. You have to take hard decisions. And if you're so emotionally vested, it's absolutely terrible. So, I spent many nights crying, and I don't think my advice to all of, no advice, but that's my story, that I spent many nights crying just because I didn't separate the fact that my friends are my friends at home, but these, while I love them and I work with them, these are my colleagues.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, so I'm going to go on to validation and guilt, and for the shortage of time. I think, a lot of things, I started off, there are a lot of things that led to a validation of a business, right, for me. It was the people who were using the business, it was the media who was promoting the business, and at every point in time I questioned, why am I doing this? I'm not just making the six-figure salaries that I was making, but I sort of kept at it. But what kept me going was every homemaker who said, I just got newly married, and I pleased my husband, and my mother-in-law loved the recipe that I cooked from your website. And there's this person who's bachelor who was studying in MIT and said, I'm missing my mom's khichdi, and I made your recipe, which was from khichdi. I'm just giving you examples of validations that kept coming in through the years, that from the users who were using the website, that actually kept me going, right? Because the business that I'm in is actually very, it takes time to grow, and it takes time to build. And and India has gotten to this content business only now. And so it took me a while to sort of validate. Every comment, every user comment, every validation was so important for me to actually keep going. So what I'm trying to say is it was so important for me to be connected with the users who are using my product. And I was open, my email was open, and anybody could write to my email address, and so that really helped me. And in fact, now my phone number is online as well, so a lot of people WhatsApp me now saying that we loved your recipe. And those are the things that gives me real height and drive to sort of keep my business going.
Shraddha, we want to hear from you now, as I'm sure does the audience. So tell us your...
Yeah.
So see, I always say my story is I'm completely imbalanced. So I just want to share with all of you this fact that there is no work-life balance in my life, right? I'm always guilty because I always fear that, oh my God, my husband should not leave me because I'm always out, always traveling. I don't have any kids. I have 2 dogs who are more than kids for me. I love them immensely. But what I want to say is that, and I see psychiatrists regularly because I get into depression very quickly and I come out of it also very quickly, but this is me. You know, one thing which I love about me is when I'm 30 plus, what I love about me is I love myself. Right? Like for me, the validation was I just couldn't accept myself. You know, if I'm sitting and she's not smiling when I'm talking, then I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm not good enough, right? And that happened to me like so much. I was always so insecure, like in terms of her cheese. In fact, one of the insecurity and guilt I had, right? Like I always thought when I was in college, ki kya hoga, ye hoga, ye wo. But now as I am in my 30s, I'm accepting. And my validation is not coming from anyone else. It's coming from my own self, right? I feel good. I feel very good and I feel that I'm normal and I'm okay and I'm not a psychopath. And I think that understanding on an everyday level, if we have that, that's beautiful. Because somewhere we just refuse to say, I love myself, right? I love myself. So when I meet Vanikola in a board meeting, then I say, oh, I love Vanikola a lot, right? Because I love myself. So I love her. I genuinely love her, right? So that acceptance, I think it that comes with time. And I hope if one thing we can take with each other is that we love ourselves, right? Nobody is going to tell you that to you and to us. Sometimes even close relationship don't say that every day, right? So we need to say that. That's my story.
Yeah. Love yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And acceptance. Like I think the biggest challenge becomes is accepting our own selves, right? Like this is us, right? Anyway, so I think we've said enough and there's only 2 point some minutes. So if you have any questions, then please quickly ask.
There's a question there.
Guilt.
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 We didn't cover guilt. So, you know, just one quote. You know, Erica Jong, you know, this famous feminist writer, she said, show me a woman without guilt and I'll show you a...
So yeah, we all have, I think the more important thing is accepting that guilt, and it's okay. And it's okay to feel that way. And I've sort of accepted that being a mother, and it took me a while. It took me 10 years to sort of to get out of home to do what I want to do, and to sort of take the business to the next level. But yeah, and then before I knew it, when I got out of home, I realized that my children actually accepted what I was doing. They didn't actually, you know, miss me or because I was giving them time. It was probably me who was having a wall around myself saying that it's guilt, but I think it's okay.